So thank you very much for the opportunity to represent Acadia Pharmaceuticals on this call. I'm very excited. My name is Matt Trifilo. I'm the Senior Director of Medical Affairs and very excited to talk to you about where we currently stand with our research program studying carbetocin intranasal spray. If any of you have been around for a little bit, I'm sure you're familiar with the oxytocin general story that exists in PWS. The hypothalamic dysfunction that occurs is associated with relatively low levels of oxytocin. Much of this data had been identified a few decades ago in a couple of different ways. First and foremost, and maybe most obviously visually as well, are pretty significant reductions in oxytocin producing cells within the hypothalamus. In fact, it's about a 42% reduction in adult brains post autopsy. There's also a very significant reduction in mRNA expression within these cells, which is illustrated on the right-hand side. So there's pretty strong evidence that the levels of oxytocin production out of the hypothalamus are relatively uh, uh, reduced in PWS. We also have information and understanding from animal models that oxytocin does seem to have a rather important impact on feeding as it pertains to a number of different animal models where direct injection of oxytocin can have really profound impacts on improving general feeding responses. So a little bit more about oxytocin and kind of how it then aligns to carbetocin, which is the current trials or what we're studying in the current trials. Oxytocin, is, as many of us know, is a natural hormone. It also serves as a neurotransmitter as well that has functions regulating a number of different areas, including hunger, anxiety, social behavior, and bonding. So it's involved in a lot of the things that we see disrupted in PWS. As illustrated on the previous slide, oxytocin deficiency has been associated with both hyperphagia and behavioral issues directly within PWS. So it makes it a pretty good target to potentially go after. Um, with that said, there are a number of studies that have attempted to utilize oxytocin nasal spray directly, and the effects have been mixed, to say the least. And a lot of that is presumed to be due to a couple of different things. First and foremost, the half-life of oxytocin is remarkably short. It's only about 4 minutes. And it also has a unique selectivity in its ability to bind both oxytocin receptors and vasopressin receptors. So enter carbetocin, and the rationale for development of carbetocin is to improve both of those functions. First and foremost, it has an improved half-life of about 40 minutes, which is good. It allows for the potential to do 3x dosing through the day, and you'll see that in a moment. And the other thing that it does is it improves the selectivity and makes it more specifically selective for binding the oxytocin receptor and increasing its affinity. So looks like it's a pretty good opportunity to move kind of away from oxytocin and towards carbetocin. Carbetocin itself in clinical trials is really not new. Many of us are aware of Levo Therapeutics, who conducted a phase 3 clinical trial a few years back. It was a large, robust study of 119 individuals. They studied two different doses, 3.2 milligrams and 9.6 milligrams 3 times per day. The study did a couple of different things. First and foremost, it illustrated that you can, in a relatively safe and tolerable way, implement carbetocin nasal spray. And it also demonstrated some potential impact on the low dose. However, the high dose, the 9.6 milligram dose, which was the primary of the study, did not meet statistical significance. And in fact, in January of 2022, the FDA actually denied approval of carbetocin, citing insufficient efficacy. They did recommend, however, that there may be opportunity to further demonstrate potential effect and safety at the lower dose. So this is kind of where Acadia stepped in. and acquired Levo Therapeutics and decided to conduct an additional phase 3 study specifically for the low dose, the 3.2 milligram dose. The study design, maybe as expected, is 12 weeks, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, parallel group trial design. And we have had conversations with the FDA to ensure that that is what they're looking for and want. The treatment is 170 participants, equally split of 85 per group. And again, only the 3.2 milligram dose, not the higher dose. The clinical outcomes are quite a few that we're looking at, but the primary is still foundationally set in monitoring hyperphagia. Enrollment began in November of 2023, and I'm very excited and proud to say that enrollment is now complete. And we are anticipating getting those top line results in Q4. And Q4 is literally right around the corner. So I think the timing of having the opportunity to kind of reintroduce this trial is extremely exciting for the company. And I hope everybody knocks on wood and crosses their fingers. It's right around the corner. Couple of key inclusion criteria just to set the stage. Again, maybe nothing that's too surprising. Eligibility included ages 5 to 30 years. They have to have documented PWS, genetically confirmed, and then they had to have a significant level of hyperphagia as measured on the HQ-CT. Real quickly, again, the trial design is again nothing real flashy, but I think that it's strong and it gets the job done. There's a screening period, double-blind treatment of both carbetocin and placebo. Maybe importantly is also to measure that there is an open-label extension that runs for 36 months. So the company is very interested in not only looking at the shorter acute phases, but really ensuring that we monitor the safety of the compound over an extended period of time. As I already mentioned, the last patient was enrolled, and we are expecting top line in Q4, and that would potentially result in a US approval of Q3 2026, obviously, if the data are strong and positive. So on a last note, and then again, I'm very happy to open up the questions if time permits. We are very excited about trying to identify potential therapeutic utilization of carbetocin nasal spray, specifically to try our best to manage and support the treatment of hyperphagia. We do believe and understand that this community needs as many shots on goal as humanly possible. So I'm excited about participating in this panel. And I'm very hopeful that as many of these products can come to market as we can see. That's about it for me. Thank you so much for the time. And again, any questions, happy to address.